Welcome to Crimson Guitars and welcome to a quick, possibly, tutorial in how to build a miniature router sled. This is something I've been meaning to do for a very long time. The more I think about it, the more useful it could be. As a base, I am using my Proxxon, although this would work just as well with a Dremel. I've got the Proxxon adjustable router base here, which also, this actually works just as well with the Dremel and is a cheaper, I don't like the word cheap, it's a more cost-effective option than many I've seen available. The way I'm going to do this, most of this project is interchangeable and just standard, relatively straightforward and easy. The way I'm going to build the sled part, I suppose, is specific to this particular accessory. But again, we'll go through the process and it's something that you can customize to suit yourself and to what you have available. Actually, here we go, here's the competition. I have several things in mind that I need this for. And in the comments below, I want you to see if you can guess what they are. And upvote ones you like, downvote ones that you think are downright silly. Nobody's silly on YouTube, are they? And we'll see what happens. And at the end, I'll say why I actually want this. And we'll see if any of you, we'll see if any of you get it. There's two or three things, and the one nobody's going to get. So there we go, a little bit of competition going as well. Now, onwards and upwards, mighty steed. Did I just call myself a mighty steed? Wow. Okay, if any of you start calling me mighty steed in the comments, this does not want to start. This isn't a thing, okay? Just not a thing at all. No things here. I have a couple of pieces of wood. I have a router. I have a router base, Sapele base, and it looks like ash. I suspect it's chestnut, actually, come to think of it, and a short piece of slightly hammered steel. Let us see what can be made with these 5 things. Okay, steel for later. We have a piece of chestnut here and a piece of sapele. What we need is to decide a size. Length isn't too much of an issue with this, and neither is precision. So cut that excess off, and that edge is square. Now, what we're going to do is put a piece of chestnut on either side, and that will basically be the first half of the jig. And what I need is 2 pieces of this cut to the same length, and but that's only part of it. If we are going to design this intelligently, I want my router, when at full extension, you can see I've got a bit there, I want my bit to actually be able to touch the base, if only just. And at the moment I have got a good 8 or 9 mil gap, which means I need to take off some material from here, which also means I need a marking gauge. Will do. Okay, first of all, I'm just going to roughly mark out how thick the base is, or how deep the base is. And then in the interests of specificity. I'm not sure if that's the right word. Use the depth gauge setting on my calipers to find out where I need to be. Oh no, I lost it. I didn't tighten that up properly. I now have 2 lines. That's my waist. I'm going to go bandsaw some of that off. And while I'm at it, I'm also going to use the bandsaw to cut away the excess, the length on this one, at least. Okay, I double checked the height across the whole length, and that's all nice. I just need to plane the sides of the lump of sapele down a little bit. Ooh, you're taking a little bit much, aren't you? Fret hammers. Yes, fretting hammers are good. Plain setting hammers as well. Okay, perfect. Nice and square. Not actually that important in this case, really, but precision in all things, and you will end up with quality instruments or furniture or whatever you happen to be making. So I need to cut this to length, and I already have a little set square, or engineer's square at least. There. What do I need? Where are you? There you are. Oh, was that my microphone? I now need to check and see if my microphone's still on. Woohoo! Roughly the same. That's all good. Okay. Fairly straightforward and fairly easy. That will give us a stable platform that should, once it's all glued together, match in height. If necessary, if I mess this up, I can put this whole thing through a sander thicknesser or something like that, a drum sander, until it's perfect. I now need to glue it together, or glue and pin. I could quite happily pin there, but for the moment I'm just going to glue it up, go and find some clamps. My favourite F-clamp is missing. It's almost as if people know it's my favourite clamp and then they steal it on purpose. Oh well. Okay. You should always do a dry run. Just to make sure that the clamps you've got actually do the job that you require, and that you can do it without any serious issues. Because once you've got slippery glue, that's a problem. So here, actually I think probably the issue was that I was not on a flat surface, so that's not absolutely perfectly square or level there. That's fine though, because now I can look out for that, and off we go. Let me find some glue. I can't find my spreader. A random scrap of Wenge will do. Okay, nice and flat, nothing underneath there. Same there. Here we go. There's a little bit of a gap still at that end. I'm just going to grab a hammer of some sort. There we go. There we go, that's that. Okay, clean up some glue, squeeze out, and we're golden. I have a tub of water that I keep around the place. Just spooge it onto a rag, get rid of the excess. Thinking about it, I'm going to put an extra clamp in the middle here and leave this to dry for a little while. While I'm about it, I'm also going to clean up my workbench. But you don't need to see that, do you? While that is drying, or curing, I suppose. Curing and drying. Much of a muchness. While that part of it is over there doing whatever it's doing, we need to create some sort of system to make this router base wider. Now, on most router bases, you can do this rather simply. Most larger router bases have a plastic sub base that is that's there to stop the casting scratching your work, and that has multiple screws and screw holes and threaded things, and it's just easy. You pick a couple of holes, take a couple of screws out, and go for it. Now, that's also on a larger machine where you have more depth of travel, and what I don't really want to do is put something else flat on the bottom of this base, because that will add another. I was thinking about plywood. I don't really like ply. Another 6mm in order for it to be basically strong enough. And you drill a hole in the middle of the ply and put it on the base and make it wide enough, and you've got something relatively easy and stable. What I want to do is take a couple of pieces of something else. It was going to be chestnut, and I've just remembered I've used all of that, so I need to find another piece of wood. And I'm going to fix it onto the sides of this little Proxon router base using the holes that it has in the side for the fence, and that basically means it's creating more width but not more depth to the base, and thus not impinging or limiting the amount of travel that I have with the router cutter. I'm sure I could have said all of that in like 2 or 3 sentences instead of 2 minutes, but we're there, we're done, it's all good. Let's put this away. Tidy up as you go. This is a rule that has not made it into the kitchen when I'm cooking, much to my wife's, I nearly said chagrin. How do you pronounce that word? Write it on YouTube so I know. Okay, I cracked myself up. What am I doing? Looking for wood. Wood. Oh, would that I could find some wood. What have I got here? Okay. Hey, I'm back again. I'm in a good mood today. This is a... I have no idea where this piece of timber came from. Piece of mahogany. Looks like it's from part of furniture, piece of furniture or something. Somebody's obviously been using my workshop while I'm not here. So there we go. Doesn't matter, it will do. Now, roughly, we don't need to be too long, really. I'm just going to eyeball this, and yeah, 20 centimeters or so. 20 centimeters or so will do. So here we go. Wait. I'm thinking about the next things I'm doing in the cameras, etc. What I need to do is not cut it completely to length. I need to cut it roughly to length, and then plane it true in one piece, and then chop it in half. Now, most of you will know this is Crimson Guitars. This room in which you find me is only a small part of the factory, etc. I have a beautiful planer thicknesser downstairs. I'm just not going to use it. I'm doing more and more in my little room up here where it's quiet and peaceful-ish. Alone with my thoughts and my sawdust. Just because I enjoy it. If I fancied the walk, I could go downstairs, whack this through a planer thicknesser, and it would be exactly perfect. But I don't know. Specifically with YouTube, what I would like to do is keep it as simple as possible. Hand tools and quietness most of the time. Fun times. Where we are at is we need to attach this to the base using this random piece of steel. Not entirely sure what I was playing at when I made that, but it was an experiment of some sort. And that's going to be going through, all the way through. Giveth me un Allon keyeth. I also don't want to do anything that is going to permanently change the functionality of this base. There we go. So piece of steel that protrudes out either end. Ooh, that's very close. And well, off to chop that up. I have a couple of pieces of wood. They're gonna sit up that way simply because that's a little bit stronger. And what I now need to do is drill some 4mm holes in the wood that match up with that. So let's see. That's about right. Yes, that's how long it takes me to do rudimentary mathematics. Just double check it visually, always helps. That should do. Okay, I want to drill this precisely, so I'm going to use a pillar drill. And I think I'm temporarily going to stick these two together. For that, I'm going to use the masking tape and super glue trick. If I can find my super glue, that is. Okay. Accelerator. Oh, super glue. If you haven't seen this trick yet, then you obviously haven't watched enough of our videos. Go back and Google it. There we go. That's not going to move anywhere, and I'll be able to drill a precise hole through both at the same time, and if I've marked it out correctly, we'll be sorted. Ah, you nearly got me there, didn't you? Health and safety. Have you noticed yet? Can you guess what happened? So I went downstairs looking for some screws that I'm going to need in a little while. Had a quick chat with Christopher because he's awesome. And one of our new 3-month students. And completely lost my mind. I've just drilled the holes through, not only on the wrong axis, but I completely forgot, because I wanted the holes to be through the through that side, just because it's a little bit more stable. I also didn't bother checking the height off the flat. So where are we? So what I need is how high from the flat base the center of the hole is. I didn't bother checking that. So I've got to do all of that again from the other side now. Masking tape and super glue. I've got to measure the height from the bottom, mark out the holes, and drill again. There's nothing worse than redos, are there? Anyway, happens to the best of us. Masking tape, super glue, apart. And let me see. Well, I'm not going to film this. I'm just going to do it and kick myself quietly and sob a little bit from my heart. Actually, scratch all of that. Turns out that the holes are, where they are, is fine. It only pushes the base up by a mil at most. So really, we're all good. Now I've got my little steel bars. I need to just file the edges over, make them round. I could use a belt sander or something like that, but then I wouldn't be able to talk to you at the same time. Although I know that hundreds, if not thousands of you, watch these videos while with headphones plugged in, and this must be an incredibly annoying sound. Yes. Yes, I am a sadist. Actually, the sound started to really annoy me as well. There we go. Those will now go in quite nicely without issues. So what I had considered was putting the bars in one of these two pieces and making that permanent, and then woohoo, sliding that one. Just push yourself up, there you go. Here we go. Okay, so I'd considered having one side in permanently, and then we can pull that out, and then the other one gets screwed in. That does still seems like a good idea, actually. That's what I'm going to do. How am I going to do that? Let's see. Thinking while on camera. Not ideal. The standard option is just super glue it in there, and I can't see any reason why not to. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to super glue these ones in. And that's a fairly straightforward thing. So okay, there's glue in. Pull the rod out. Yep. You still here? Hello. Okay. There's super glue in there. I'm going to fill the holes with some dust, which means going over to the lathe and picking some dust up. I'm back. There is still a possibility that I'm going to have to pin these in some way. We'll see. I have, of course, completely overcomplicated matters. I could have made a simple base. One of the other reasons that I didn't do that was visibility. This skeletal structure allows me to see more of what's going on. By the way, have you guessed yet? What jobs do I really want this for? Let's see. What I want to do is drill a couple of holes so that they will meet up with the steel. I always use an awl of some sort. And here we have a couple of small screws. Now let's see. These were supposed to go most of the way through in that direction if I hadn't messed up. I think I'm actually going to use these shorter ones now. They've got a much coarser thread. Yeah. Essentially what I've just done here is I've just tapped the hole. And now I'm going to take the screws over and flatten the base with a file. There we go. Now, there was a slight twist because I was drilling through such a wide section. One of the holes went off slightly, so I'm actually going to have to plane that section down a little bit. It would definitely be easier if I took the whole thing apart, but I also need to be able to double check where we're at. With the other leg. I think that's it. Yeah. Well, the other bit's drying. That's still going to take a little while. I'll be back in about half a coffee. Goodbye. Success. That's fairly straightforward, nice and easy. I could do with a... This is a nice tool, and it's something I'm going to keep with me for, well, hopefully a long time. So yes, I am going to sand it down, tidy the edges up a little bit, and etc. Probably oil it. In fact, I'll oil it in a second. But here is the whole point and purpose of it. We've got a base to which we can affix things. I hope you figured out what they are. And the Dremel, or Proxon, depending on which tool you have, happily sits in its base. And we've got full ability to move it around and do whatever we need to do. And that's a really rather a beautiful tool. I'm going to spend 5 minutes just making it look a little bit prettier. I'm going to sort the edges out, bevel some edges over, and I'll be back with you in a sec. And here we have it. A fairly basic tool, but one which I kind of wish I had gotten around to making earlier. A lot of the time with this sort of a jig, it might take you 2 or 3 hours to make if you're filming it, or an hour or 2 if you're not. And at the time that might seem like a bit of a waste of time. However, with this, I'm going to be able to do several things very quickly and easily. You guys, I'm hoping, have been guessing, and throughout the time of the video, furiously commenting away below. And I am unashamedly going to steal all ideas that weren't actually already in my head. The 3 that I have in mind, though, are one, of course, shaping or sizing nuts and raw nut material, because that is, well, that's very, nuts and saddle blanks for acoustics and things. This will do very, very, very well. And it's making shavings rather than finer dust to a certain extent. We could also quite easily fix an extractor hose pretty close to this setup to get rid of dust like that. The second, and the one I don't think anybody's going to get at all, is I want to play around and rescue. Hold that thought. I'm back gracefully. I have rather a lot of abalone shell and some other species whose names I know not. And these things are not flat, but large portions of flat material could be gained. And I suspect, well, this stuff is hard, and doing it on a belt sander or something like that just destroys the belts. And I would like to see what it's like with a Dremel. And the third option, or the third thing, in fact, I'm going to do a separate video making one of these because it's going to be so interesting, is to make shims to go underneath Fender style instrument necks. And making an angled shim by hand, if you know how to use planes, is fairly straightforward and easy. In fact, maybe I'll do a video, I'll do 2. I'll do one making it by hand with planes, etc., and one making a shim with this jig. And a lot of people will prefer the jig because they prefer routers and power tools and things, and they are they're perfectly entitled to that opinion. See, I can control myself. No, I love hand tools. I like power tools. I love hand tools. Anyway, there we go. I'm really looking forward to seeing what you guys come up with in the comment section below. I want to know what you will do with a similar jig. And yeah, fun times. Thank you for watching. Click like, subscribe. Please push that little bell button. It gets you notifications, and you actually find the video in your feed rather than these incessant calls to watch so-and-so singing such and such. And there's a lot of puerile rubbish on YouTube, isn't there? But anyway, hey, smile! And please consider supporting our Patreon, where you see more videos like this, 90-hour build, and extra Q&As and stuff. And of course, the Patreon videos I edit myself, and I'm really enjoying that process. So thanks again to our Patreon supporters. I will see you guys soon. It is almost time for my, I'm not going to say how many coffees I've had today, for another cup of coffee. Be good. I'll see you soon. What are you looking at?